Hello, and welcome to the Holistic Birth Doula Training Orientation. I am so glad you are here and truly excited to walk with you through this journey. This training is hosted by the Doula Co-op of Nevada, and it is made possible through our partnership with Anthem. And this orientation today will give you a clear understanding of what to expect and how the course works, what you will need, and how to prepare yourself for the weeks ahead. So take your time taking everything in, pause as you need, and come back to sections whenever it feels helpful to you. So, a little bit about me. Hi, I'm Sam, and I will be your primary instructor throughout the course of this training. I am a mom and a full spectrum doula of the last 12 plus years, and one of the original co-founders of the Doula Co-op of Nevada. I created this training because I'm deeply committed to accessible, trauma-informed, and culturally considerate doula care and doula education. And my approach is all different types of things, but you'll find that at the core, I am holistic. I aim to be inclusive and heart-centered, and my values are strongly about autonomy and about reverence for rites of passage. And so my hope is that you will feel supported and grounded and empowered every step of the way through this course. You will also be supported by Nicole, our TA and the engagement coordinator for the Doula Co-op of Nevada, or DCNV for short. Nicole is a birth and postpartum doula, as well as a former teacher and an incredible support person for me and for students throughout this program. And you will interact with her through your Google Classroom, through email, as well as during our live class sessions. In our live classes, we will get to know each other and we will build community. But for now, I just want to invite you to take a moment to check in with yourself as you begin this training. Notice how you are arriving, your energy in relation to this orientation and, the beginning of this journey. What are your intentions? What are your hopes? And when we meet for live classes, for our first live class, you'll have space to introduce yourself and share what it is that you brought here to doula work. Okay, so without further ado, this is what your training will look like. We are going to move through 8 modules over the course of 8 weeks together. And these modules will include topics like pregnancy, birth, and postpartum, as well as advocacy and trauma-informed care and self-reflection and herstory and hands-on skills and mental health and breastfeeding. And so much content exists here in this training. I created it that way because I hope it inspires you, and I hope that you feel well-resourced to have a lot of information to begin your doula work and to know where to go for information when you need it later, right? The job of a doula is not to know everything and be able to regurgitate it at a moment's notice. It is to be able to know how to resource oneself and how to support a client in building self-trust and being resourced themselves. So the modules include 3 main components. There is the virtual content that you will complete independently the week leading up to our live class sessions. There's also the assignments and homework within that virtual work that is going to integrate what you're learning and what you're taking in. And then we also have our weekly live classes on Zoom every Tuesday from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. And the homework that I mentioned is all in this preparation for your doula business. So in the end of the modules, there is the doula business section module. And this is going to be preparing you to set up the foundation for your doula work so that you can move forward in your work confidently. And the homeworks that we are doing are mostly, many pieces of them are this preparation for your final project portfolio or your final portfolio project. And that project is meant to be the documents and the things that you need to set up that foundation for your doula work. So you can expect up to 5 to 8 hours per week of coursework, in addition to our live class sessions that are 4 hours on Tuesdays. And all of this works together to support your learning, the knowledge, the practice, the reflection, and the integration of it all. So what will you need? There are a few required books for this course, and they are listed in your onboarding email as well as in your Google Classroom. I will walk you through exactly when and how you're going to use the texts. You don't have to read everything up front. There is a little bit of required reading for the first module, for our first live class session together. So before you come to that first class, you'll want to make sure that you do get Reclaiming Childbirth as a Rite of Passage by Rachel Reed. There are a couple of things in that book that I'll have you read in preparation for our first class. And the other book, Birth Partner 6th edition, is not due to be read until the third class, our third week together. So you'll want to prepare yourself to get that now and have it ready for yourself for that third week. Otherwise, you'll see in each of the modules that you go through, there will be listed your required chapters for each of the texts, as well as in each of the sections, you'll have different virtual things to read or virtual things to watch. So you'll see that in the virtual work. You're going to see the resources, and they're going to be broken up into the required resources versus what is supplemental. And the supplemental work that I've given you is quite a lot sometimes, and it's really meant to be saved in a Google Drive folder or Dropbox or somewhere that you can access it when you have finished this training and would like to dive deeper into certain topics that we've covered. You want to set up your file saving systems now. This can be the paper files that you'll have. So maybe you get folders or the accordion binders or some kind of filing system for the things you'll want to print out for clients, as well as some kind of virtual system to save your files. This is important because doulas are not meant to know everything right off the top of their head. We are resource support. We are resource libraries in ourselves. And so you will be collecting and educating yourself on those things as you move through your work and as you move through this training, of course. So even the required resources are things that you may want to save and put aside for later. Maybe you'll use them in projects. Maybe you'll use them with your clients. But the required resources are all listed first, and they are the things that you will need to read or watch or review for our live class sessions and for completion of the training itself. And of course, as I'm mentioning, there can be varied amounts of work for the different modules. It will ebb and flow a little bit, and pacing yourself is really important in this course without getting overwhelmed. So I gave you some resources for time management in the introduction of your Google Classroom. And I hope that you will pre-schedule around the time that you will, like, pre-schedule structure or routine or something around the time that you will be able to get this work done each week. Start in your Sunday, kind of look at your week and say, here are the sort of inflexible pockets that I will be committing to working on this coursework, and make them as inflexible as possible, but make many of them, many little pockets, so that if it has to become flexible, you have more to know that you have more time to get that work done. But do your best to stay staunch in your commitment to this work, because it's easy to fall behind with the readings or with, the bulk of the work in different sections, different assignments. So I want you to be prepared and to prepare yourself for really focusing on what needs to get done. And that will help you stay on track. And assignments are going to be due each week after they are assigned. So 1 week after they've been assigned in the virtual classroom. And homework assignments are going to be due 2 weeks after they've been assigned. So please be vigilant so that you can get those things done in a timely manner and not fall too far behind. There will be some things that'll be easier to accomplish than others. Sometimes you'll need to do a homework that requires a partner. And so, there will be times where you have to move forward and come back to something, and that's okay. But try to do that in a way that keeps you on track and on task, and doesn't leave you falling behind. And also, one more thing that you will need, we are going to invite each student to choose a resonant stone. I have a crystal here. It does not have to be a crystal. It can be a painted rock. It can be a plain rock. It can be a plastic rock, whatever. Maybe it's a stick. I don't know. It should be a stone. It should be something of the essence of a stone. And you'll learn more about how to use that in our live sessions. We are going to use them as grounding and reflective tools to anchor us into our doula work. So find your resonant stone and bring it to our first class, and then we'll bring it to each class after that as well. So now we are going to talk about navigating your classroom. All of your course materials are going to live in the Google Classroom, and that's where you're going to find the modules, the weekly assignments, the readings, video lectures, all of the class resources. You will also submit assignments there, and you will receive feedback there. So in each module, at the end, there are homework assignments, and there'll be a place for you to upload your file. And in the assignments, there's a place for comments and different things like that. So be intuitive about where it's asking you to submit assignments. Sometimes there's direct instructions about that. But all of that will be done in this Google Classroom. And once you are added to the Google Classroom, I recommend taking a few minutes to click around each tab and get comfortable with the layout of the classroom. If you ever feel stuck, you can certainly reach out to either myself or Nicole, and we are here to help. And I also encourage you to first use your resources and try plugging it into Google. The problem may be really simple. Oftentimes it is. And oftentimes as well, if you're coming to me, I am plugging it into Google. And I'm not always the best with tech stuff, but sometimes it's easier to work it out together. So if you guys do have any problems, you can certainly come to us, but see what you can do about it first. And you'll receive an email with the Google Classroom code for your specific cohort. We make a new classroom for each cohort that goes through the training. So you'll have your cohort in your classroom, and you're going to use only one email to sign into the classroom, and make sure that you're using the one that you would prefer to use for all the training documents and communication that you want to do with us. You may even consider creating a doula business email, and even if it's just your first and last name, if you're not ready to brand yourself quite yet, so that you can have things all in one place. And the classroom, you can download the Google Classroom app on your phone, or there is also the website version that you can use. And I recommend having both, to be honest, because in case you want to easily access videos or readings while you're on the go, you have your phone. If you find that it is easier for you to do your work in a concerted, study environment, then you have your laptop to set yourself up at. And then you have both of them for, when we're on the Zoom calls to check your classroom, or phone, computer, phone, and for different places that you may be. So accessibility, efficiency, and the ability to really fit this into your life wherever you go. So when you do get into the classroom, the first place that you will see in the classroom itself is the stream tab. You'll be on the stream tab, and what you're going to see there is that it's this real-time feed of all of the updates that are happening in the classroom. It's like your notification section, and you'll get notifications whenever something is added to the modules, whether something is uploaded or whatever, something like that. That's where you'll see my notifications for your feedback, or if your fellow students comment on anything. Where you will navigate to see a more organized version of the content is the Classroom tab. So you'll see that the content in the Classroom tab is all organized in the sections that you'll need to do each week. It's going to begin with the first introduction section and the first module 1, Her Story. And so you're going to begin working on the virtual work for the first module as soon as possible. You want to review all of the introductory stuff, but really dive into the first module as soon as possible, because the work is meant to be done prior to us meeting in our first class, so that you are prepared for class discussions and the activities that we will do. And after each Tuesday, you will notice that the next module's content will upload around 3 p.m. that day, right after our class, so you can begin working on the following week's module after each class that we get to do together. So when you get into the class, you'll notice that I've done quite a bit of consideration around like the core principles of the training and the values. And so one of those cornerstones is our shared agreements, and our training's built around these shared agreements that help us to create safe, supportive, and effective and accountable learning environments. And so these will include expectations around attendance and participation, communication and tech use, trauma-informed agreements and principles, confidentiality, boundaries, etc. And you'll hear these agreements each week before classes start, when I review them in more depth as reminders. But for now, know that we have a policy, first and foremost, that you can only miss one live class. If you're going to miss, we would love if you communicate with us via email or via Slack, which is an app that you'll download, a messenger app, and it's somewhere you'll have a channel for just your cohort where you guys can communicate, and we can communicate with each other, share resources, talk about assignments, connect outside of class, etc. And that's somewhere that you can contact us as teachers as well. And if you're only going to miss before or after lunch, so we take lunch around 12 noon each Tuesday during our class. That's our average time we get to lunch. If you're only going to miss the couple hours before or a couple hours afterwards, then we encourage you to try to make the other part of class. This would offer you the leniency later, because you'd get half credit for attendance for that class. So that means you have leniency later for missing part of a later class in case of emergency or unforeseen circumstances that come up, because we'll be together for 8 weeks, so you never know. And attendance also means that you're on camera and participatory throughout the class. So we used to do this in person, and it was easier to manage people's participation. And with Zoom, it's a different animal. And so we're going to have a lot of breakout rooms, and we're going to have a lot of interactive activities. And I also have designed the class to the effect that I'll call on students for their thoughts at different times of reflection or debriefing. And if you're not on camera, the time that you're off will be noted and taken into account. And if it's extensive, it might count as a partial or complete absence from class that day. So if you need to hop off camera for like a few minutes to collect yourself, to calm your nervous system or something of the sort, go to the bathroom, of course, we encourage you to step away and take care of your needs and yourself. And at the end, at the same time, we expect those off-camera moments or those off-camera times to be brief, so that you can get the most out of your class time. During a live orientation, this would be the part where I open the space to respond to questions, and we would share insights and takeaways and thoughts and reflections, and it'd be juicy and connective and all of the things. But for this recorded version, I encourage you instead to set aside a few minutes to reflect using the journal or the notebook maybe that you are going to use for this training, and consider these 2 questions. What do I hope to receive from this training? And what do I hope to give? And these reflections are just for you. You don't have to share them with the class or anything like that, but they'll help you arrive more grounded and intentional on our first date together. So that's it. Thank you for taking the time to go through this orientation video. I'm very grateful for your presence in this upcoming class. It is my heart's work to teach new doulas and to offer all of this information to the next generation of passionate birth workers. And I'm honored to guide you through this work. So before our first class, make sure that you have reviewed your resources in the introduction section of the Google Classroom and checked your email for the Google Classroom access. You have to do those in the opposite order, of course. But you should also gather your required texts and any materials mentioned, the notebooks, like the journals, make sure you have pens and things to work with, and some art supplies even for one of the later modules where we will do some birth art together. This training is going to ask you to show up with presence and with curiosity and compassion and commitment. And I know that you are capable of all of that and more. And I can't wait to meet you live. Welcome. I will see you soon, and we will begin. And I can't wait.